Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into a true classic, Crash Team Racing.
Awesome.
We got a great gaming review from one of our listeners,
Right.
and we're going to explore why this game, even decades later,
Yeah,
is considered way more than just your average kart racer.
absolutely.
So, ready to peel out and see what's under the hood?
Let's do it.
All right. This review really emphasizes how CTR sets itself apart
Okay.
by really focusing on skill-based gameplay, especially when it comes to that power sliding boosting system.
Yeah.
It's not just about grabbing random items and hoping for the best, is it?
It's not, no. It's about mastering a technique. It's called power sliding.
Okay.
And it's how you maintain and even gain speed in this game.
Oh, interesting.
So you're drifting around a corner, you're building up that energy,
Right.
and then you hit that boost at just the right time to rocket ahead.
Okay.
CTR made this like a core mechanic
Yeah.
way back in 1999, and it's still super satisfying to pull off.
I can imagine. So it's not
Yeah.
just hitting a button, there's an actual technique to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To really master power sliding,
Yeah.
you need perfect timing.
Huh.
Imagine there's this meter
Yeah.
that charges up as you hold that drift,
Okay.
and you have to hit the boost button at a very, very specific window.
Oh, wow.
If you hit it too early or too late, you lose momentum.
So there's a penalty.
Yeah, it's almost like,
Huh.
like a rhythm game layered onto the racing.
Oh, that's a cool way to put it.
And that's what makes it so rewarding for players who
Yeah.
want to put in the time to really learn it.
I see. It's not luck. It's actually about getting good with those controls.
Exactly.
The review also mentioned something that I thought was pretty unique
Okay.
for a kart racer, especially back then. A story-driven adventure mode.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely ahead of its time.
Okay.
Instead of just kind of throwing you into a bunch of races,
Right.
CTR has like a whole campaign that
Right.
you get to conquer.
So you're not just racing randomly. There's an objective.
Yeah, you're facing off against bosses,
Uh-oh.
you're earning trophies, you're collecting relics,
Yeah.
and you're working your way up to this final showdown with nitrous oxide
I've heard of him.
to save the planet from,
Yeah.
well, being turned into a parking lot, basically.
Sounds high stakes. So there's an actual narrative pushing you forward.
Exactly.
Mhm.
CTR gave players a sense of progression,
Okay.
like they were part of a bigger adventure.
So it's not just a series of random tracks.
And that was pretty rare
Yeah.
for kart racers back then.
Hmm.
They usually just focused on quick races. So this depth
Right.
made it feel like a much more complete
Okay.
gaming experience.
Now, let's talk about the tracks themselves.
Yeah.
The review calls out some pretty memorable ones.
Okay.
Hot Air Skyway, Cortex Castle, and Tiny Arena. What makes these stand out?
I think the track design in CTR is just incredibly diverse
Okay.
and detailed.
All right.
Each one has a distinct theme. You know, you've got the precarious heights of Hot Air Skyway
Yeah.
to the spooky atmosphere of Cortex Castle,
Right.
all the way down to like the chaotic energy of Tiny Arena.
So it's not just generic racetracks.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Each environment is packed with personality.
All right.
There are hazards, there are shortcuts to discover, obstacles to dodge, and
Right.
all these unique elements that make each track feel totally different from the last.
Interesting. And how about the characters themselves? The
Right.
roster, they're not just there for looks, are they?
No, they're not.
Okay.
You're not just picking your favorite Crash Bandicoot character because you like the way they look.
Uh-huh.
Each one has different stats
Oh, okay.
that affect their speed, their acceleration, and their handling.
Oh, so it actually affects how you race.
So if you're more about quick bursts of speed,
Yeah.
you might go with, like, Dingadile.
Okay.
But if you prefer sharp handling,
Right.
maybe you choose, like, Pura. So
Mhm.
your character choice adds this, like, layer of strategy to the game.
So you're making decisions even before hitting the track.
Exactly.
That's cool. But what about multiplayer?
Oh, yeah.
No kart racer would be complete without some fun with friends, right?
Oh, absolutely. CTR shines in multiplayer.
The review makes it sound like absolute mayhem.
It really is.
Okay.
The game has classic split-screen racing, which is
Yeah.
perfect for those head-to-head battles with friends.
Yeah.
And then you've got the battle modes
Nice.
with these dedicated arenas designed for chaotic showdowns.
Sounds fun.
It's a perfect party game, really.
And we can't forget about the power-ups.
Oh, of course not.
Gotta have those crazy items in a kart racer.
CTR has all the classics. TNT crates that you
Yeah.
can chuck at opponents, homing missiles
Right?
for, like, satisfying takedowns. And then there's the infamous beakers.
Those beakers, I've heard stories. What do they do?
They can be a game changer.
Okay.
When you pick up a beaker,
Yeah.
it unleashes these random effects on the track.
Wow.
It could either help you or completely hinder your opponents.
What kind of effects?
So maybe everybody's controls get reversed.
Oh.
Or you suddenly get this huge speed boost
Okay.
while everyone else gets slowed down.
Oh, that's brutal.
It's that element of unpredictable chaos
Yeah.
that just makes multiplayer CTR so much fun.
Sounds like it. It seems like there's a lot to this game, even beyond those core elements.
Yeah.
The review mentioned challenges for, like, the more hardcore players, things like time trials and relic races.
Oh, yeah.
What are those all about?
Think of those as like CTR's expert level content.
Okay.
Time trials are all about pushing your skills to the limit.
Right.
You're trying to shave milliseconds off your lap times
Wow.
to achieve like that perfect run. And then relic races add this whole other layer of challenge.
Okay.
You not only have to beat a target time, but you also got to collect these relics that are scattered all over the course.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, so they demand not just speed,
Right.
but also track knowledge and precision.
So even after you've mastered those core mechanics,
Right.
there's another level to strive for.
Exactly. And that's what makes CTR so enduring.
Yeah.
It offers something for everyone, from casual players who just want to have fun with friends, all the way to those hardcore racers who are obsessed with perfecting their skills.
I think we've covered a good chunk of what this review had to offer.
Yeah.
But there's one more big piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
In 2019, they released that remake, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled.
Right.
What can you tell us about it?
Well, Nitro Fueled took everything great about the original CTR and gave it a beautiful visual overhaul for modern consoles.
Cool.
But crucially,
Yeah.
they didn't mess with the core gameplay.
Oh, interesting.
And that really tells you how well designed the original game was.
Right.
Even with updated graphics,
Right.
the core experience remained untouched.
So it wasn't just a nostalgia cash-in.
Not at all. They genuinely respected what made the original so great.
That's awesome. Nitro Fueled brought Crash Team Racing to a whole new generation of players then.
Yeah, it did. It was a huge success. And it proves that good game design is timeless.
This has been fascinating so far.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this first part,
Okay.
I'm curious, if you were to design a Crash Team Racing track, what kind of crazy themes and challenges would you include?
That's a fun question.
Yeah.
Let me think about that for a moment.
All right.
We'll dive into my track designer dreams
Okay.
when we come back for part 2.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back into this Crash Team Racing deep dive.
Yeah.
Before we took our little pit stop, I asked you about designing a Crash Team Racing track.
Right.
If you had the keys to the cart, so to speak,
Okay.
ready to share your vision.
Okay, so imagine a track that starts
Okay.
in this, like, spooky abandoned theme park.
Oh, I like it.
You know?
Yeah.
All those creepy carnival rides just rusting away.
Getting those classic Crash Bandicoot vibes already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then as you're racing through the park, there's, like, this hidden power source
Okay.
that gets activated.
Oh, interesting.
So suddenly all the rides spring back to life.
Oh, wow.
It adds these crazy new elements to the track.
Now that's interactive.
Yeah. Imagine dodging, like, swinging pirate ship arms,
Right.
leaping over a roller coaster that's suddenly operational.
Oh, man.
Or maybe even, like, navigating through a hall of mirrors
Trippy.
that distorts your perception.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
But how would you challenge players beyond just those moving obstacles?
Good question. I think I'd throw in some environmental puzzles.
Interesting.
So maybe you have to, like, hit specific targets
Right.
to activate a bridge or something.
Okay.
Or time your jumps perfectly to avoid getting caught by, like, a moving platform.
So a bit of brain power mixed in with the speed. I like it.
Yeah.
What about power-ups? Any particular ones you'd imagine fitting well in the setting?
Maybe a new power-up
Okay.
that lets you temporarily control one of the rides.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, what if you could take over the Ferris wheel
Right.
to block other racers?
Ooh, I like that.
Or use the carousel to launch yourself forward?
Okay, this theme park track is sounding more and more epic.
Yeah.
I can practically see it. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about Nitro Fueled again.
Right.
You mentioned it was a huge success.
Yeah.
But do you think that was mainly driven by nostalgia? Or did it actually attract new players?
I think it was definitely a bit of both.
Okay.
Nitro Fueled did a fantastic job of appealing to longtime fans.
Right.
You know, those who had fond memories of the original. The updated graphics, the added content. It was a big draw.
Yeah.
But it also managed to attract a
That's
whole
right.
new wave of players
Right.
who maybe had never even experienced the original.
So the core mechanics of the game still held up.
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of a well-designed game.
Right.
Even though CTR was released over 2 decades ago,
Yeah.
its core mechanics, especially that power slide boosting,
Right.
still feel fresh and exciting today. It really shows how well the developers understood what makes racing games so fun.
I imagine the online multiplayer of the remake helped, too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Nitro Fueled added those robust online features,
Okay.
allowing players to compete against each other from all over the world.
Right.
And that definitely contributed to its longevity and
Yeah.
helped introduce CTR to a global audience.
It's fascinating how a game from the era of couch co-op can transition to the world of online gaming.
That's pretty cool.
What do you think are some of the biggest challenges for developers when they're trying to update a classic?
It's a delicate balancing act.
Okay.
You want to stay true to the original spirit of the game
Right.
to preserve what made it so beloved. But you also need to modernize certain aspects to appeal to contemporary players.
Right. So things like graphics and...
Yeah, like graphical updates, quality of life improvements, maybe even new features
Right.
that expand on the original.
So you need to understand both the soul of the original and the expectations of a modern audience.
Exactly.
It's a tough job.
And you have to be careful not to alienate the core fan base while also trying to attract new players. It's a challenge. But when it's done right, like with Nitro Fueled, the results can be really special.
This discussion has really shown that Crash Team Racing isn't just a nostalgia trip. It's a really well-crafted game with mechanics that have stood the test of time.
Absolutely. And that's why it continues to resonate with players today. It's a reminder that sometimes the best ideas are those built on a solid foundation of fun gameplay.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious what you think the future holds for Crash Team Racing. If they were to make a brand new sequel, what new features or innovations would you like to see?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let me gather my thoughts on that.
Right.
We'll tackle those possibilities when we come back for the final lap of this deep dive.
We're back for the final lap of our Crash Team Racing deep dive.
Yeah, let's finish strong.
We've talked about those power slides, the multiplayer mayhem.
Right.
Even brainstormed a theme park track.
It's been fun.
Before we cross the finish line, though, you were about to share some thoughts on what a CTR sequel could look like. What new features it could bring to the table.
Okay, well, building on what we talked about with Nitro Fueled and how successful it was, I think expanding those online features would be huge.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know?
Like, imagine a really in-depth tournament mode.
Okay.
Maybe even ranked play for that competitive scene.
So give those hardcore players something to really sink their teeth into.
Exactly. And then on the flip side, I also think there's room to explore the single-player adventure mode more.
Okay.
The original was great, but imagine a sequel with, like, branching storylines.
Oh, interesting.
Or choices that affect how you play.
Okay.
Maybe even some light RPG elements.
Like what?
Well, like upgrading your cart.
Ooh, cart upgrades.
Yeah.
I like that.
Imagine earning parts through races.
Okay.
Maybe even crafting specific builds
Right.
for different tracks.
So you could customize your cart
Yeah,
for like speed or handling.
exactly. It would add a whole new level
Yeah.
of strategy and customization.
And while we're on customization, it'd be cool to see more options for the characters too.
Oh, for sure.
Not just like how they look, but maybe their stats as well.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, let players tweak their characters to really match their racing style.
We could give them more agency over how they play.
Exactly. But let's not forget the tracks themselves.
Right.
CTR is known for its creative tracks.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'd love to see them push the boundaries even further in a sequel.
For sure.
What kind of crazy environments are you picturing?
Well, we already talked about that theme park.
Right.
But imagine tracks inspired by classic Crash Bandicoot levels.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you could have a jungle track that takes elements from temple ruins or a high-speed chase through a futuristic city.
Right. Like
inspired by Future Frenzy.
Yeah, those are great.
You know.
It would tie the whole franchise together really well.
Yeah, a true Crash experience.
But beyond the looks, are there any new gameplay mechanics? that could really change things up?
That's where things get interesting.
Okay.
What if there were hazards you could trigger?
Oh, like what?
Like, you could set off a landslide to block other racers.
Oh, that's devious.
Or activate a giant fan to push them off the track.
I like it. Anything else?
Ooh. How about a power-up?
Okay.
That transforms your cart.
What?
Into a totally different vehicle.
Whoa! Like
imagine your cart turning into a hovercraft.
Oh, that'd be...
Or maybe even a mech suit.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It would definitely add a lot of chaos.
It would be awesome.
And those are just a few ideas.
Right.
There's so much they could do with Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
I think we've really shown how special Crash Team Racing is with this deep dive.
It's a great game.
Not just a fun kart racer, but a game full of potential.
Absolutely.
Even after all these years.
Definitely a testament to the developers. They created something truly unique and lasting.
To our listener who sent in this review, we hope this deep dive gave you even more appreciation for this classic.
Hopefully some inspiration, too.
Yeah, maybe you'll even come up with your own CTR sequel ideas.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll be racing on those tracks.
That's all the time we have for this Crash Team Racing deep dive.
It was a blast.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.